This one's in Philadelphia. It's a matchup that Philadelphia, it feels like they're just getting stronger, obviously, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith coming back. Lane Johnson's coming back as well. And so this is an interesting matchup here with a Browns team that is really, we thought it was really talented going into the season. We weren't sure what we were going to get, but at this point in time, it's just been disappointing for the Cleveland Browns. So it's also, I would say, been disappointing for the Eagles, but they're the ones that have some talented people returning.
Right.
Do any of those factor into your matchup that matters, or what do you got for this one, Carmen?
Of course it does. The trenches matter in this game, I think, more than anything. And the Eagles O-line in particular versus this Browns defensive line, strength on strength. Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson are the third and fourth best graded tackles by PFF. This team also has the best run blocking grade. They have the eighth best pass blocking grade at 74.5, and they have the second lowest run block defeated percentage, so they don't get beat. They are the 12th most penalized offensive line, which I thought was very interesting because that is like basically the only people that can beat the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. This is absolutely where it comes down to, all right, how can you protect against this Browns defensive line, which is very good, even outside of Myles Garrett. They're 13th in total pressures, third in pass rush win percentage at 56.5. And then, yeah, Myles Garrett has the second best pass rush win percentage behind just Aiden Hutchinson from the Detroit Lions. So this is where you like the production is. This is why, on the whole, the Browns have been disappointing. But I mean, the strength of their team is the strength of their team. And that's this defensive line. That's Myles Garrett, who is just an absolute game wrecker. So how clean can you keep Jalen Hurts? How much can you allow for Saquon Barkley to get involved in this game and run on this Browns defense? I think there's an opportunity there. I'll get into that with my plus factor. But as far as this matchup goes, or the matchup that matters most to me is in the trenches, and it's the Eagles' offensive line versus Browns' defensive line.
I agree with you that it's definitely in the trenches. I'll flip sides to the other side of things, talking about the Eagles' defensive line versus the Cleveland Browns' offensive line. And the reason why I think that it matters so much is because going into the season, we figured that the Browns offensive line was once again going to be a strength of their team. And I think, unfortunately, they've been bitten really hard by the injury bug, right? Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin's not playing. Ethan Posic's now hurt. And so you're playing, backup guys, backup to the backup players. And even the ones who are out there, like Joel Bitonio, I mean, it's just a different unit that's there. Jedrick Wills is kind of coming back from injury, and he really has not looked all that effective. He has not looked the same as he did earlier on in his career. And so all of a sudden, the offensive line for the Browns, which was really their bread and butter. It was how they were formed as a team, as an offense, is now not only not a strength, it's a weakness for them. It's a major weakness, and it's going up against a group that for the last 3 or 4 years, we have consistently seen the Philadelphia Eagles devote all sorts of cap resources and NFL draft resources to have multiple waves of pass rushers, not just a front four, but it's almost a front eight that they can send you at any time and any combination of these players. Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, Brandon Graham still there, the veteran Brandon Graham, but Moro Ojomo as well from Texas, who's playing well. They got Zach Bond. Bryce Huff hasn't caught fire yet, but there's a chance that could certainly be this week. So I think that this could be a big time game breaker for the Eagles if their defensive line could take advantage of a beat up Cleveland Browns offensive line. I think it's a reason why we have seen such poor numbers from them offensively. My plus factor in this one, I'll just kind of combine it right here, is simply if Deshaun Watson can make up for that offensive line. And so far this season, he absolutely has not been able to. One game he played very well, but the rest of them he has played very poorly. 63.1 PFF passing grade, that's just 24th among QBs, and the EPA per play for the Cleveland Browns offense as a whole is not good, especially with Nick Chubb not being in there as well. So to me, Deshaun's the plus factor because he's the only one who can mitigate the struggles of that offensive line. And it's hard to ask a quarterback to do those things. I'm very aware of what I'm asking. It's tough, but that's ultimately why he's the big plus factor, because without that, and with the returning stars that the Eagles have, especially with them at home, I don't know how Cleveland keeps up with Philly's offense with the return of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And so Deshaun is really, it's all on his shoulders for that offense to be able to keep up. But what do you think? What's a plus factor for you?
Well, on the Eagles side of the ball, it's got to be Saquon. He's been fantastic. He ranks third in rushing yards, tied for fifth in rushing touchdowns. 18 rushes, gaining a first down. So 4 rushes, gaining 20 plus yards, which is tied for third in the league. And he's going up against the Browns defense that has allowed the eighth most rushing yards, 709 ahead of week 6. And they've allowed the second most rushing touchdowns, which is 8. They've also allowed the second most rushes over 10 yards with 23. So this is an absolute opportunity to get Saquon heavily involved in this Eagles offense in general, and that takes pressure off of Jalen Hurts, takes pressure off the offensive line, which again, you talk about Lane Johnson coming back. You just we rely on those guys so much because they're so good. But if any opportunity you have to kind of take the pressure off of them to hold, Jalen Hurts to hold the ball, throw it downfield, do all that, you can absolutely control this game if you get Saquon going. And I think there's a really good chance of that, given the fact that the Browns defense just hasn't been good against the run.
There's too many factors against Cleveland to win this game, which of course means they're going to win the game, right? I mean, like every time that on paper all directions point to one team, you know how the NFL works. It just means that Cleveland is somehow, some way going to win in ways that we did not think.
I mean, Sirianni is already incredibly on thin ice.
If they lose this game,
that market, if they lose this game, if the Eagles lose this game, there will be riots in the streets of Philadelphia.
Philly's already out of the playoffs. Those fans are ready to riot anyways. If the Eagles lose to the Browns, that's gonna be bad. It might be nuclear.
I know they're really down bad with the Phils loss, so
don't need to compound that with an Eagles loss. Browns fans certainly hope that that's the case, but Browns still have the Guardians. I think I'm not a baseball guy. I haven't picked. I don't know. Are they still in it? I don't know. Tyler, let me know if they're still in it. Our producer. I'm talking to my producer. I'm not just talking about somebody else.